Hey guys, this is 0713MM, and I am here to give you a deck profile. I have done this once before, but it wasn't with real decks. This one is going to be a real deck, and it's actually one of my, I don't know if you would say personal favorite, but I do like the Archetype, and all this stuff has been released. I'm not a... what's the word here? I'm not a like an up-to-date type person with like Yu-Gi-Oh packs and stuff. I'm trying to get into that, but you know, I think if I do, like, these videos will sound better and all that. But enough of my own rambling. Let's just get into this. As for the deck, it's Timelords. I mean, hence why I said it was one of my personal favorites, because it is. But I think now I'm just starting to sound like some opinionated person. Let's just get into it. I may do a combo video for this deck, like either sometime today or tomorrow on this, because I have seen other deck profiles, but there are some things I run here that are different from the ones I've seen. So if people feel like I'm copying them, don't feel they shouldn't feel bad about it, or they shouldn't like get angry at me for it, because it's my build. Like, I obviously didn't. I think I had this deck like maybe longer since like the recent like updates that people have been doing on theirs, but I should have had this like in the center of the thing, but you know, I didn't, so that's bad. All right, let's just get into this. I run one Gabrion, the Timelord. This one is good. You don't want to run too much of it, because it does let your opponent draw if you shuffle everything back. But the nice thing about those is that it clears the opponent's board. So if they basically have a bunch of extract monsters out and like pretty much no spells and traps or any other monsters like a main deck monster, they don't draw, because it says they get shuffled back into the main deck after it battles. Like, obviously the text is small, but yeah, I'll put that up there. Now I run one Halion. I mean, this one is a bit odd for me to run. What I should have said at the beginning is that I use all the Time Lords. That includes Cephalon. So, because, you know, want to give the zone like feel, you know. But this one, if your LP is lower, which you're obviously not gonna have lower LP unless you're running counter traps in the deck, which I don't. So this one isn't gonna come up as often. But if you just want an easy level 10, they're all level 10. I should have mentioned on the Gabrion that after battle, at the end of the battle phase of discard battle, it shuffles all cards the opponents feel into the deck. I did explain it, but I didn't mention that part. This one is after discard battles, if your LP is lower than the opponent's, their LP basically becomes the same as yours, which is pretty good. So that's why I run one. Again, same as Gabrion, I don't want to run too many. Alright, so now we got to Camion the Time Lord. This one's great. Again, same thing. And I also sort of mentioned at the start, when I mentioned Gabrion, that these monsters can be null summoned without tributing. The only one that can't is Sandayon the Time Lord, which all the new stuff came out in Battles of Legend Relentless Revenge. I think that's the name of it. I feel like I'm acting cool all of a sudden, but that's not my intention. It's like, yes, I know all this stuff, but you know. None of them, the only one that can't be null summoned without, when you control no monsters, is Sandayon. The opponent has to control monsters, so it's kind of like a Cyber Dragon without tribute. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. This card, along with Halion, Gabrion, all the Time Lords essentially, except Cephalon, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. You take no damage involving it, and at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, You target one card in the field, shuffle into the deck, and neither player can respond to the activation of this effect, and the opponent takes 500 damage as well. So it's essentially burn. Now we're getting to the 3-ofs. So 3 Lazion the Timelord. I've seen people run 1 or 2, but there is a reason I run 3, and I'm gonna get to it like later in the video. Again, this monster can be no summon without tribute. It can't be destroyed with battle by card effects. You take no damage involving it. At the end of battle phase, this card battled, shuffle a card to the opponent's graveyard into their deck, and also once a turn, if they draw a card, they take 1,000 damage. Again, this goes into the combo that I'm getting. Well, not really a combo, but another card that I use that works well with this. So, I think what I should do is, like, before I move them, I'll just move it up here. And now we have 3 Michion the Timelord. I don't really know what to... this one is the best one. This is the one you want to see extremely early in the game. Like, essentially as quickly as possible. Because he's basically your starter to, like, OTKs if you're lucky enough to open up with him plus the other Time Lord I'm gonna mention. Or get to eventually. Oh, I forgot about... Wow, okay. I had a Meteon. Okay, I did not even realize I was there, but... Yeah. Okay, so I started explaining Meteon before Meteon. But Meteon, the opponent takes no... at the end of the battle phase, if it battled, it shuffles all cards the opponent controls. Oh, not all cards. All monsters on their field to the hand, and then they take 300 damage per monster. So let's say, due to Link format, there's now an extra monster zone. So the damage would go up to... The maximum amount of damage you can actually inflict is... Okay, so there's 5 other monsters on your field and 6 on theirs. That's 18 from them and 15 for you. So the maximum amount of damage you can do is 33. Pretty good. Time Lords are essentially burn. And I like how I was explaining Michion first, then Meteon, because I didn't even notice that I grabbed the Meteon. I actually forgot that E came before I. Wow. Forgets basic school knowledge. Okay, back to Michion. And this one you want to see in your hand as quickly as possible, because at the end of the battle phase, if it battled, I just want to make sure the dog is not doing anything. Okay, back to what I was saying. After the battle phase, if this card battled, half your opponent's life points. It doesn't inflict damage like the anime variant did, so... Oh, you wanted to use prime material? Well, this one doesn't inflict. It's straight up halves. It's basically solemn judgment to the opponent's face, which is amazing. Alright. So we're getting to the 2-ofs. 2 Raffion. I used to run 3, but that was before the deck I decided to make this deck profile. I run 2, and this one is pretty great. Again, they pretty much all of them have the cannot be destroyed battle by card effects nonsense. At the end of battle phase, if this card battled, and if it battled a monster, obviously it has to battle a monster, otherwise the effect doesn't actually do anything. It inflicts damage to the opponent equal to the attack of the monster this card battled. So yeah, you're gonna want your opponent's gonna have to be careful when they face this, because if they know it's in your hand, they're gonna like be cautious about what they summon, or if they're trying to OTK you, then they're not really gonna care. Okay, 2 Sandayon, the Time Lord, one of the new ones. Well, Raphion's also new, plus Halion, Gabrion, Michion, and I think Camion. I could be wrong, because I know, yeah, all of them are new, like, except for Meteon and stuff, because they've been out since, like, I don't know, 2011, whenever they came out. This one is the one that you cannot normal summon. If the opponent has to control monsters for this to work. If you want normal summon, at least. You could alternately summon it through like Celestial Transformation, which is a spell that is in this deck. But basically, this one does have attack, so the opponent can't really get rid of it unless they like shuffle it into the deck, or pretty much any of them really. But after this card battles, neither player takes any damage involving it unless you play like, I don't know, some tech like Forbidden Scripture or something, which would mean that this card's effects would be negated until the end of the battle phase, so it could deal until the end of the damage step, excuse me. I think that's what it is. I don't actually have the card on me. But after this card battles... Oh my god, I am an idiot. I'm explaining Sandeon, but I forgot to... Because I run Sandeon too. This one... second mistake in the video! Wonderful. But, Sandeon, the Time Lord. I can't believe I was saying 2 of Sandeon when I asked Sandeon to look at. This one cannot be destroyed by battle by card effects, blah blah blah. I already said this, I don't need to repeat it a bazillion times. People should know what these things do. If they don't, then... Well, at least in regards to how they can be summoned. The only reason I run this, again, it works well with Halion, but you have to have lower... Your OP has to be lower than 4,000. So it's basically a Lifestream Dragon, but for you. Well, actually no, Lifestream Dragon's also for you, but... Lifestream Dragon makes your LP 4,000 no matter what. Even if your LP is like 8,000 or something. This one just makes your LP 4,000 if it's less than 4,000, which is basically what it did in the anime. Now I can get to Sandeon. I don't understand why I'm doing this. Sandeon, I started explaining that, and then I realized I had Sandeon also on the table. But yeah, this one, I'm not really going to say much about it, because I already explained most of it before I saw Sandeon. So, this one has to be dual summon without triggering if the opponent controls a monster. So, let's just say they have a, I don't know, I'll just say a random monster like Cyber Dragon or something. And, or they have, well, any monster really, I just use Cyber Dragon as an example. You attack with it, then obviously it can destroy the monster, but they don't take damage, and at the end of battle phase they take 2,000 damage. So that's good. It's guaranteed in 2,000 damage. That's a 4 for their life points. So if you combine this with this guy, you basically just got their OP down to 2,000 if you do the chain order correctly, which would be have their OP, then inflict 2,000, and yeah. And the last Time Lord, well, second to last, because there is another one. Cephalon, the Ultimate Time Lord, obviously due to its name, it is the Ultimate Time Lord. And out of all the Time Lords, this one actually is facing to the side and not towards you, like the others. This one is different. Aside from Sandeon, this one is the only other one that has 4,000 attack and defense. They're both light attribute. This one cannot be normal summoned or set except when you control 10 monsters. Again, it's an old school monster, kind of. But people are probably wondering why you're running this. Well, the reason I run it is because there's a card in here that allows you to summon it ignoring its conditions. People that have made deck profiles of Time Lords should know what I'm talking about, but for those who don't have Time Lords or don't know what they are, or haven't seen 5Ds for that matter, yeah, you should watch Zone versus Yusei or something. Then you'll know what it is. And what it, well, the anime one is actually pretty broken. They actually toned it down to where it can only bring out one monster from the hand or grave per turn, which is pretty great because you can essentially get like 4 Time Lords out. 5 if you have Celestial Transformation and a Time Lord in your hand, and then you can just go into Xyz plays if you want. Now, 2 copies of Swift Scarecrow. I would run 3. I do have a third, but like I didn't really feel like putting a bent, like the corner of the card is like bent, and I didn't feel like doing that. So I do have another Time Lord deck somewhere, or I'm making another one, but you know. The reason this is here, because just in case you don't have monsters and the opponent tries to end you, you can discard this end of battle phase. Alternatively, you could just let your opponent inflict massive damage to you before and then they try to kill you. You can just discard this, prevent them from finishing you off, then summon Halion and Sadion, get your life points back up to 4,000, get your LP down to where yours was at due to their damage. And yeah. Now on to the spell. Oh wait, no, there's a few more monsters. Just 4 more. Well, 2 more, because Time Maiden, the most important card of the deck, and I am surprised that this thing is not like $20. It's the bread and butter of a Time Lord deck. If you're going pure, which I am doing pure, I am not running any crazy engines like, I don't know, invokers. I don't run that. I mean, it would be nice to do that, or I think there is another engine like Kaiju Time Lords, where like you give them a Kaiju, and then you bring out like, I don't know, Meteon and bring it back to your hand or something. But this one has 4 effects, but you're not really going to use the second effect all that often. You're only going to be using, wait, expressing this card from the hand if you can control monsters. Yeah, you're not going to use the 2 tribute thing all that much. Like, what's the point? What? They might as well have taken that out, because like you're never going to use that. You're only going to use the 1st, 3rd, and 4th effects. You're only going to use the special summon if you control nothing, tribute it to get a Time Lord to your hand with 0 attack, and banish to bring out a Time Lord from your deck that has 0 attack ignoring summon conditions. That's pretty much, it's literally the bread and butter. Now, I could technically tech like Burial so I can get it back to my graveyard, but I'm just like, nah, that's not worth it. The last one of Zaphion the Time Lord. Since there's a cameo in the anime actually used to shuffle all monsters Bone controls into the deck, but now it only chooses 1 card. So Camion and Zaphion are pretty much opposites in the anime, and it retained its effect from the anime except the draw part. But this one is, again, can't be destroyed by card effects. If it battles at the end of the battle phase, shuffle all spell and trash spell controls into the deck. So if you're facing against like Altergeist or something and they don't really have any way to... It works well against Altergeists. Anything that's spell trap heavy. Pen Magicians, for example. I do have that deck, so... yeah. And it just resets their whole back row. Plus field spell if they have one. Now to the spells. 2 advanced draw. I read 1 3, but I don't want to buy another one, and I don't have another copy on me, and 2 works for me just fine. I know people sometimes use 3, but I'm just like, when are you ever going to get... Like, I know you can get multiple Time Lords out on the board, but I'm just like, why bother with 3? Like, you have Zaphion as a tribute. Now, I could run more of Zaphion just because it gets me a 3rd card, but I'm not doing it. Now, onto the second bread and butter of the deck, I guess you could call it. It's in spell form. Celestial Transformation. You can special summon a fairy type monster from your hand. Its attack and defense are, I think it's just its attack. Yeah, its attack is halved and it's destroyed at the end phase. But due to Time Lords, except for Cephalon, which you can't special summon from the hand with Celestial anyway, but they're destroyed at the end phase. But Time Lords can't be destroyed by card effects, including your own, so it doesn't die. So, that's beneficial. I'm literally, like, you could call Time Maiden the bread and Celestial Transformation the butter, or if you want to call it the peanut butter and jelly, go ahead. Now, here's the tech I was talking about that works well with Lazion. I have seen people use this, but they're not, I don't think they're doing pure Time Lords. I think they're doing, like, some other variant, like Monarchs or something, because I did see one recently where they used Monarch Time Lords, but they weren't using all the Time Lords, obviously, due to the monster lineup. But this one, I have not seen a lot of people run this. I don't know, it's because, like, they choose it not necessary, or it's just their personal opinion. This is my personal opinion. You summon the Lazion, this is the combo I was talking about. You summon the Lazion, you play this from your hand, you each lose 1,000, and you each draw. Lazion burns them for 1,000, okay? That's already an 1/8 of their LP. They draw on their turn, they lose another 1,000. So they just lost 1/4 of their life points with just those 2 cards alone. With just this and Lazion alone. Which is crazy. So if you have a Lazion, Sandeon, and Meteon out, and you play this after you attack, in your main phase 2, you basically just won the game. Because they lose 1,000 from it, and then they have to draw, and then they take 1,000. Okay, so 1 Foolish Burial to send Time to the grave. I think that's simple. Or a Timelord, if you so are inclined, because there's a trap that lets you shuffle them back in the deck. 1 Monster Reborn, because Monster Reborn is off the ban list. Why not use it? I mean, there really isn't a lot of explaining to do with these spells. 1 for 1, again, to get Time Maiden out from your deck. If you have this in your hand and another monster, but you don't have Time Maiden, you can just get it out that way, tribute it off, get a Time Lord to your hand, and then summon. Now on to the traps. Balance of Judgment, again, I have not seen this in any deck profile. I think I've seen people use it in like Wydro Pro videos, but I don't really count those as deck profiles because they're not actually explaining anything. They're just like doing a bunch of random duel. Like, for all I know, they're probably just taking replays that they did and post them on YouTube. Like, YouTube accepts anything apparently. Okay, this one is a bit interesting because you are most likely gonna have less cards on your field than the opponent does. But by some chance, you have less cards in your hand and on your field than your opponent. You draw cards equal to their surplus, or equal to the difference between their number of cards on their field and the number of cards in your hand and field. Which, if they had made it to where it was just your hand or just your field, I think this card would have been so much better, but it has to be both hand and your field, which kind of makes it a bit, like, neg. But I run it at 1 for that reason. 1 Blazing, because again, burn, that's what this deck is about. It's basically a Ring of Destruction, but it's in Mirror Force form, which is pretty sick. Well, it's not really Ring of Destruction, because that's like damage equal to the attack of 1 monster. This was equal to the half of the total combined attack. Alright, now to the 3 of traps. Empty Machine. This is one of the new traps. Again, I'm sorry if I'm starting to sound like I know everything, but I honestly don't. I wanted the Archetype so bad, and then they finally released all the stuff. I'm not trying to sound like a cool person. I'm just doing this because, well, I wanted to share this deck with you guys. My build, personally. My personal build. Oh, jeez. If I didn't make those mistakes there, I think this video would be less time. But again, this one has 2 effects. Once a turn, well, first it has the effect where it can't be destroyed once a turn, and then you can activate one of the effects once a turn. It's a trap, so the effects are quick play, even though they don't say it on there. You can discard a Timelord, a level 10 monster, so you can alternatively run this in trains, discard your trains, draw a card. So it's kind of like a draw engine for level 10s. And then during, the other effect is, if you control, if you control no other spell and traps, which I think might include field spell, but I could be wrong, you can shuffle a Timelord monster from your graveyard to your deck, then you can set 1 Infinite Machine from your deck, hand or deck. If they set it from hand, deck, or grave, I think Infinite Machine, Empty Machine and Infinite Machine would be better. Speaking of Infinite Machine, I run 2. 3, 2, and then 1 copy of Infinite Light. This one, again, can't be destroyed once a turn, and then once per turn during the main phase, you can either special summon 1 Tower monster from your hand. If it was hand or grave, I think it would be a little bit better, but it's not that, which is fine. The other effect is, this one actually doesn't have the whole no other spell and trap restriction, so you can have like 4 other spell and trap, well, 3 other, because you need room for setting Infinite Light. Take a Time Lord, shuffle it in, get the Infinite Light set. Now what I like to do is set them on the opponent's like end phase if they don't destroy Empty Machine or Infinite Machine. And then once my turn starts, I can play this. Like, obviously I'd wait until after my standby phase is over, or after all the Time Lords are shuffled in. Now, Infinite Light. This one can't be destroyed by card effects, period. It prevents your Time Lords from being shuffled into the deck, and neither player can target them with card effects, and then neither player shuffling them in also applies. So they basically can't. It's basically the I win button of the deck. because once you pull this off, it does take a while to get out, so I can understand why people wouldn't use it, but it's a card, it's a trap. These traps are support for the deck. They don't have any spells that support them specifically, except like generic stuff like Celestial Transformation, generic fairy stuff, I mean. This one, if you control no monsters, you can special summon one Time Lord from your hand, deck, and grave, ignoring summon conditions with different names. That's why I run the Cephalon, because it ignores conditions. So you can really bring out a Cephalon without, at least I think it's ignoring conditions. You control monsters. Okay, yeah, ignoring conditions. I just want to make sure. Because that would stink. It's like, I'm running Cephalon, but I can't summon it. One rivalry to basically give your opponent trouble, so they have to pick which type, and since all the monsters in here are fairy, even if the opponent changed their typing, it wouldn't matter because you'd still control one type of monster. I guess the only downside would be you can't summon Swiss Scarecrow, but why would you want to summon that? It's your hand trap, man. You don't want to summon that. Unless you're going to go for a rank 1 that actually requires 2 level 1s. Secret Blast, again, same thing to the whole Blazing Mirror Force, and you just want all the burn stuff as possible. I think I have a few other burn cards, like Dimensional Wall, I think it's called, or Dimension Wall. But I don't know where that is. So I'm not going to bother rummaging through all my cards to search for it. One Torrential to clear their board if they start getting pesky stuff. And your Time Lords can't die, so yeah. That's why you run that. And now we're into the extra deck. One Future Number 0 Utopic Future. Now people are probably going to be wondering, why are you running this? Well, because, again, if you get 2 Xyz monsters at the same rank on the field, you can... It's basically a monster stealer for you. You take no battle damage involving it, and it can't be destroyed by card effects. So, yeah, that's a plus. I'm going to try to do this quickly because my camera's about to die. I almost said phone. 2 number 35s, again, if you're LP or your opponent's LP. If you're LP, if there's a massive difference in your LP and the opponent's, it gives all your Time Lords and it's in itself a massive boost in attack. So yeah, number 30, I almost said 37. Number 77 to overlay with 35 and get rid of pesky stuff and attach one of their monsters to it. 2 Super Dreadnought Roll Cannon. Super Dora, basically to protect your stuff because you don't have any way to protect your Time Lords except you would have to prevent them from being targeted, so that's why that's there. Plus to protect itself. One of this, because you can get 3 out with Infinite Light. 2 of this, because it's basically your finisher, especially if you get the 3-card combo from your hand off. Michion, Sandaeon, Celestial Transformation. Lynx, Underclock, Decode, and Topologic. Mostly because if you have a Sandaeon, you can lower their attack by 4,000. Decode to negate their things, and Topologic to act as a second torrential tribute. And your Time Lords can't die to its effect. So, yeah. I do have 2 Ghost Reapers as my side, but I'm just like, I'm tempted to either main these or take them out because I don't have any other side deck. Oh yeah, that's the deck profile for Time Lords. I may do a combo video later, like I said earlier in the video, but I don't know. But yeah, this is 0Cell13M signing out. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile.